What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. This right here, as you all know, is the podcast where we dive into the deepest, darkest, murkiest waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, the #1 scumbag, your bastard of ceremonies, Rex Ruger. That's R-E-triple-the-X. You might also know me as a.k.a. the King of Sleaze, a.k.a. the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. It's undeniable. Look at me, folks. Tell me that I'm not the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got a million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Bop Loo Bop Wop Bam Bam. Shazam. Hot damn. Feeling good? Everybody in the house, including you all out there, is looking good. That is, of course, made possible by my favorite product. Get the quaff like Roth and spray responsibly. Coming to you as always from the lush lavender lounge of love. Joined as always by number 17 in your programs and number 1 in your hearts, Pete Hernandez Puppet. This is, of course, the No Frills Podcast. You don't get no frills because we are technologically incapable of giving you them here in the Pod Scum camp. What we can give you, though, are plenty of thrills. And that's looking at this face and the killer guest that I have on there, including today's guest, who is coming in here right now. So let's chop it up with him. Hey there, sir. How are you? Do I got you? You got to activate the microphone. See, we don't edit anything here, folks. This is, can you see me okay? Let me see. Let me see if I can offer some technological, What?
You got me now?
Ah, there you go. Yep. I was just sending you a text to say you might have to enable the microphone, but you came across.
Right.
Billy Rowe from BUCKCHERRY. Thanks so much for being here, man. It's really awesome to have you. So obviously, people are going to know you most right now from BUCKCHERRY. Catch people up to speed on like how you ended up in that band. A great rock and roll band.
Well, it's been going almost 3 years now, and
yeah.
I've known Stevie for a long time, and it really came down to COVID time, all that bullshit.
Yeah.
And the guy they had he just didn't want to tour through it, and they wanted to march through and be the rock and roll soldiers they are. And Stevie hit me up, and I just said yes, and here I am 3 years later.
You still, you know, as we get older, obviously our priorities in life change. Do you still like getting out there and touring?
Well, I hadn't done this kind of touring in many, many years. So it's me revisiting it. And for me, you know, this band's at a level where for me, it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's my type of, I fit right in with this kind of what this band's all about, just straightforward rock and roll. So for me, everything's been great.
One thing that I find interesting is that you are into building guitars as well. How did you get into something like that?
I got into building guitars. I was always kind of a tinkering kid, and into working with my hands. If I'm building, skateboards out of a raw piece of wood, and then eventually in high school, I built a guitar, and I was always into tweaking with my guitars, and so. Years later, after the JETBOY years and just kind of figuring out what to do with my life, basically, I just started building guitars. Here comes this thing called the internet and eBay, and I saw a couple other people doing what I do now with my company, and I just started trying to sell a few, and they sold, and it just kind of paved its way for itself,
Now, you mentioned COVID a couple minutes ago. What was that period like when we were all hunkered down and everything was quarantined? Was that a particularly fruitful and abundant period for you to create as somebody that works in a creative field? How did you spend that time?
Life for me was completely the same.
Yeah.
except for the stupid, diaper on your face or whatever.
Yeah. I'm still wearing the diaper on my face. I work in healthcare by day, so my day job is a nurse, so I'm still in diaper mode.
Right. Well, yeah, you have to wear one,
Yeah.
for that. But no, for me, my shop and everything was at normal speed. The whole complex where I'm at, everybody was doing things as normal. The only difference is when you went to the grocery store, you had to stand in line.
Yeah.
Like you're in the 1940s with ration tickets.
Yeah. As somebody who works in a creative field, what is your particular creative process like when you're going to sit down and write, guitar licks, or, whether you're writing lyrics or creating it all? Are you somebody that has like a set, do you set time aside to create? Do you go to a certain room in the house, or is creativity just kind of, coming into you all day long?
No, it's not coming in all day long or anything, but the last time I really got into writing was with JETBOY. BUCKCHERRY's got their formula.
Okay.
Stevie and Josh right now, and the producer has done the last 2 records. But I still do it. JETBOY put a record out not long ago, and the process has completely changed for me from 20-30 years ago till now with technology. So I'll sit with an idea. If I have an idea, put it on the iPhone, and then go through them later on, and sit down in front of Logic and start building a drum program, just a vibe of what I want for the song, and then just kind of build it from there. I'd like to do more of that, but time-wise is just, time gets shorter as we get older.
What was your upbringing like? Was music, how early on in life did you know that music was going to be the path you were going to take in life? Did you ever have any aspirations of doing anything else?
No, music grabbed me pretty young, probably around 1974, 75. I was probably like 9 or 10. And Kiss was the ultimate gateway for me.
They are always the gateway. They are always the gateway. I get that answer a lot.
Well, for my generation, and probably yours and some after, but
yeah,
I'm a Kiss fan when, Kiss Alive started to break, and that was my first introduction to
it. What was it, if you can harken back to that time, what was it about Kiss? I mean, obviously they are a powerhouse. I'm rocking their shirt today. What was it? I mean, was it the theatrics? Was it was it the makeup? Was it the songs? Was it all the above? Do you remember, was there one particular aspect of what Kiss does that really grabbed you?
I would say it's everything.
Yeah.
Of course, as a kid, seeing what you saw was, 70s pop culture and what was going on at the time. They fit right in, but they stood right out, But
yes,
at the end of the day, it's the songs. It's the music.
And when you see them right now in this day and age, and I don't want to just pinpoint them because, and I've talked about this on other episodes. Obviously, there's been other bands who have been lumped in, via YouTube, bands like Motley Crue. But when you see these bands that have reached a legendary status and they're using what people perceive as tricks and cheating, during their live show, do you give a band that's reached the legendary status of Kiss or even a Motley Crue a free pass and just say, look, they can't replicate what they did years ago? You're going to see an actual performance, but they may have to roll out a few tricks and a few smoke and mirrors type things to get by. Mm-hmm. Or do you like seeing like the live thing, warts and all?
Yeah, that's like the hot button topic right now or whatever. I'm whatever works for the band, and within that, I'm not in. I don't know what these. I have a lot of heroes of these bands you mentioned, and if that's what they need to do, then that's what they need to do. That's up to them. That's their business, and I support whatever works best for them. It's like a lot of these bands are a lot older,
right?
And a lot of the people who are pushing buttons against that stuff, are fat. And they're not up on stage doing what they're doing. And
I agree.
It's all about putting on a great show.
Yeah.
I don't think these people are vanilly and all that kind of stuff. It's like it's what it is. It's performance. It's a show. And it's just creating a lot of interest on the internet.
It sure is
overall with people. Which creates, to me, it just brings attention to the band, whether it's good or bad. And it's rock and roll, so if it brings attention to live music, that's great.
If if people haven't seen, if people haven't heard or seen specifically what BUCKCHERRY do live, and they are certainly a force as a live band, what would you tell somebody to expect if they were coming to see BUCKCHERRY live and they had no preconceived notions or hadn't been to see them before? That they should expect what?
Well, basically, just a straightforward, high energy, pedal to the metal rock and roll band. You know, basically, you'll come to a rock show and put a BUCKCHERRY show, and you'll just be full of energy. There's with the hardcore BUCKCHERRY fans, what I've seen as someone who's come into the fold years later is this just it's just a love for the band, a dedication, and just it's like a light switch that goes off when the band plays, and these people are in this serious happy place, which is awesome.
When you look back to the years of JETBOY, what's your recollection of that time period and like what JETBOY accomplished and you know, and what they could have accomplished? Are you satisfied with the legacy there?
I'm satisfied with it because I have no choice but to be satisfied with it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy to like, oh, it could have been this. It's like, yeah, at one point in my life, and all of our within the JETBOY camp, in many bands, you said like, I wish it was like this or that. You look outside of your box and wish it was like this band, and why is that band bigger and all that.
Right.
But you know, that's just the way it is. Some of my favorite bands are from the '70s that never reached that height of some of the other ones, but that doesn't mean they're any less or more. You know, it's just it's all about timing, and those were great times back then. We were young, you know, straight out of high school, all of us, and it was a scene that was just completely magical and connecting and very, you know, just it was all about an energy and a love for music. So
was having to move the band, or you know, from the San Francisco scene to the LA scene back around that time, it was almost imperative to do that, right?
Well, yeah, a lot of people did relocate to Los Angeles. I think a lot of it was after the fact of bands like JETBOY, Guns N' Roses, LA Guns, Faster Pussycat started to kind of, you know, bubble up in the as the new wave of bands out of LA, and just basically which became, you know, worldwide, you know. But we were only 398 miles away,
right?
Where we were from in San Francisco, so we were playing LA all the time before we got signed and any of that happened. And even prior to the band being complete, Fernie and I, who started JETBOY, we used to go down to LA every so many months just to hang out, and we were looking for members, you know. And, so.
And when you think about like guitar players, being a guitar player yourself, and I'm sure you're on record numerous places talking about influences, and I don't want to ask the dreaded influence question, but who are some guitar players that just really inspire you, or that you'll always perk up your ear and listen whenever they're playing?
That's a long list. It's all my favorites from, you know, the Kiss, you know, all the bands I love, you know, the Ace Frehley, Paul Stanley, Joe Perry, Brad Whitford, Angus Young, Malcolm Young, Michael Schenker, Funky Meadows from Angel, Richie Randall from Stars. You know, just, you know, Keith Richards, Ron Wood, you know, to you know, later ones as well, from Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols.
Yes.
You know, Joe Strummer, Durwood Andrews from Generation X. It's just,
as somebody,
it goes on and on with the generations as I got into stuff, you know, through the years. But those are some, you know, deep ones for me. That Johnny Thunders, you know, that kind of changed the game in all genres of, from rock and roll to punk to pop to metal.
As somebody who's not a musician, I'm not a musician. You know, and you know, to your ears, what's the thing that jumps out to you when you're listening to a guitar player? Is it tone? Is it you know, like what is it that really makes a guitar player you know, appeal to you as a fellow guitar player?
Well, in my early years as just a listener and a fan and dreaming of wanting to be in a band, I didn't really know tone. You know, I just, it was what it was, though I look back now and I know that those records were well recorded and well produced records that had great guitar tones on it. Right. But for me, it was just the hooks and the melodies. of the guitar and the vocals. Eddie Van Halen, when he played a solo, it was you can hum it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
just maybe some of them we had to hum real fast, but like
Yeah.
we got into Randy Rhoads. But same with him. You know, a lot of those solos were as memorable as the hook of the song.
Is it difficult now with streaming platforms and album sales not being what they used to be? You know, if someone comes to you specifically as somebody who's been a working musician for years and years and years, and you have to play devil's advocate and give advice to somebody that's just starting out in a band, what direction do you even point a band in nowadays?
Well, I mean, when you're younger and you're getting into stuff, you have just an excitement and a love for wanting to be in a band and to play music. So, and a lot of it is just to work on your craft and get great at writing songs. I could only pound that down more than anything is writing songs.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be a great, phenomenal guitar player to write great songs, you know, and writing great songs is a lot harder than being a phenomenal guitar player, in my opinion.
Yeah. The key ingredient to a great song is what? Like, what is that key component that makes it? Because obviously we're hit with right now an influx of a lot of music. There's no shortage of music on these platforms, and it seems like there's thousands of songs, you know, coming onto the scene, you know, every single day, and very little time and very little attention span of people to get through all of this influx of music. What makes a song stand out? Can people still write a song that stands out nowadays?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of great new bands out there. You know, there's just there's so many that maybe they're hard to find in what your flavor is and what you like. You know, I'm kind of more old school. There's a lot of newer bands that are, you know, that there's a new formula of writing that's catchy and hooky and all that. But for me, it's just in the hook and the melody, you know, the sing along. I like simplicity.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
so,
I do too.
But I think that's the thing. If it's catchy, it's like a jingle, like a TV jingle. You know, some people could still hear the same jingles they heard on TV growing up as a kid because they're simple and repetitive and they're catchy.
I find myself at work a lot because I work in a nursing home. I find myself walking around singing the theme to the fucking Golden Girls all day. But, you know, not the catchiest of all.
Well, yeah, that song. Thank You for Being a Friend.
Yeah,
which was written by Andrew. That was written by the guitar player Andrew Grohl, who was an amazing songwriter.
Yeah,
he wrote many hits, and he was Linda Ronstadt's guitar player for many years.
Really? Oh, okay. Yeah. Fun fact. Look at you busting out a fun fact.
He passed away not too long ago, but if you go pick up his catalog of greatest hits, you'll find that, you know, he also did the theme song to that show. What was that? It was one in the 80s. I can't think of the title of it, but he was an amazing songwriter, Andrew Gold.
Andrew Gold. Okay. Are you somebody who when you're in a band where like your whatever band you're in gets your full focus, or are you also somebody who juggles other side projects?
Right now, no side projects.
BUCKCHERRY's the main focus.
I have in the past. Yeah, I mean, I have in the past. You know, the JETBOY years. You know, there was a time a few of us in the band and the guys in Junkyard had a AC/DC cover band, and then later on, really, the side project was more the main project.
Yeah.
You weren't playing as much. You know, that kind of made the side project was more just you had the job and working the normal life, and the side project was the band.
When you're up on that stage and you look over and you see that you're on a stage, you're sharing a stage with Josh Todd, who I think is a criminally underrated frontman, and just an energetic, just a real force up there on stage. And obviously it's a loaded question, but what's your assessment of him as a frontman?
He's one of the greatest rock and roll frontmen of today's rock and roll world, of the whole industry. You know, he's just it's a natural.
He is a natural. I get that from him too. I do believe he's a natural. You know, when you're playing alongside somebody like that, though, what makes him a good natural frontman? Because there are a lot of guys who obviously are known for their range, for their voice. And then you get somebody like, and then you get somebody like Diamond Dave back here, who in his later years, not so much known for the great voice, but obviously just a showman and a full-on performer. I get the feeling that Josh kind of encompasses all of that. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So that is the key. So there is more than just a great voice to being a great frontman.
Well, yeah, there's great frontmen, there's great singers, right?
Yeah,
and there's great singers and frontmans in one. So.
And so your first foray into the band was Hellbound in 2021. That was the first album you were on, correct?
Yeah, yes.
And when you come into the Buckcherry fold, you said that they very much have a songwriting formula already. Is that door ever opened? Or do you think it will be opened for more of a collaborative process, or is that the formula that Buckcherry likes to stick with?
Yeah. I don't see why it wouldn't. I'm sure it could. I mean, there's a couple things that Stevie and I did work on that, with this new album that's coming out that did not make the record, but that that doesn't mean it's when there's another record that maybe something will. So
yeah.
But I think everybody in the band, this is a real strong lineup, and it's a very everybody, you could just feel there's an electricity with this lineup and energy. So
yeah,
on these especially this new record, there's something's going on that's really
I agree with you.
More of a band, like when any band started as a band, and it was that genesis of the rock and roll bands of Kiss and Aerosmith and all that. There was a magic chemistry.
When you think about your plans as far as like the music world, like I've heard older rock stars like say, geez, I don't want to still have to be climbing up on a stage when I'm 70 years old. But then you see guys like Mick Jagger who are approaching 80 years old, who are still very vibrant and very vital up there on the stage. Is just speaking about you specifically, is the rock and roll business anything that you put a timeline on, or say, geez, I don't want to still be doing this, getting up on a stage. Maybe I want to move more to producing or anything like that, or do you just kind of just play it by ear?
No, I just say this is what I do.
Yeah, there's no retiring. Right? There's no retiring.
What's the point? Really. I'm not really much of a forward thinker. I kind of like to be in the moment.
Me neither. Me neither. Come to think of it. Now, obviously, people love stuff that's nostalgic. What's old becomes new again. Would there or could there possibly be any time on down the road any reincarnation or any version of a possible Jetboy? Or is that chapter of your life kind of past?
No, well, we still do shows once in a while.
Yeah.
We did that record. We have a covers record coming out. We're going to be releasing like a track from it every few weeks, just streaming online it's on Cleopatra Records.
Okay.
It's a very good mashup of some 70s AM pop radio hits and some 80s rock hits, and it's going to be a pretty cool covers album. So we're doing that. We just played 2 shows in January. We played at the Whiskey, and we did that Key West, Florida festival.
Okay.
And I'll do the shows I can do, and Mick can march forward and do shows that I can't do, get a fill in for me, and then see how this cover record does. But we just Jetboy's kind of been at the point where we just do things when we can. Our lives actually reconnect, and we have the time to do it and go have fun.
What was the differentiating factor, do you think, though? Like, during the Jetboy years, like when you make the move out to LA and, bands are just, it seemed like back then we're just getting plucked up from the Sunset Strip, like left and right. What was that ingredient that's catapulted some bands to superstardom, and then you kind of had like a tier below that, which spawned a lot of bands that I love. You mentioned LA Guns and Faster Pussycat, those bands that didn't quite get to the level of a Guns N' Roses or a Motley Crue. What was that differentiating factor there, do you think?
That's so hard to answer because there's so many generations of that from the 70s, and I don't know, you could say timing, or you could just say some of those bands just had it more than the others.
Yeah.
That thing, whatever it may be, that you really can't put your finger on. It's a Guns N' Roses came along and they had it, you know, whatever that it thing is. It was just the perfect storm at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, that goddamn it thing, right? Jesus Christ, if we could all just have that. I want just a little bit of the it, just a little bit. It's pretty crazy, though. It's pretty crazy to think sometimes, though, that it's not always necessarily, it's not always, and this is not to impugn any of those aforementioned bands, but, you know, sometimes it's not always the most talented bands necessarily. A lot of it, and I do think luck might be a factor too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think luck is basically another word for timing.
Yeah.
Right, because it's rolling the dice on the roulette table, and it's just the timing of the wheel and the ball hitting at the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. When you guys go out on tour now, you know, we mentioned you guys playing live before, and what a force BUCKCHERRY is live. Does the itinerary as you guys get older and you know, you get different facets of your life change, family, kids, priorities change or whatever, do you guys sit down and as a band and collectively talk about what the itinerary is that everyone's comfortable with when you guys go play live?
No, not really. It's, you know, I mean, maybe some do, you know, some have kids, some don't, you know, but it's really just getting the right dates out there that are needed for the year for the band to work and to keep the machine, you know, running at tip top, you know,
now,
keeping the engine running right.
It seems like nowadays, though, playing live and selling merchandise really seems to be a lot of bands, you know, like what is life sustaining for them at this point in their career, with album sales in the musical industry having changed so much. But BUCKCHERRY really seems to be a band that is capable of doing that because they are such a force in a live setting. But a young band, though, a young band that doesn't already have that plugged in audience, though, is it hard for them out on the road?
I guess, yeah. Again, it's like depending on if there's a following. You know, there are these bands that are big online and their Instagram and all that, or TikTok or whatever, and they can pull in people with that outlet. You know, so I don't really follow too many of the newer ones, but you know, I'm sure it's the same but different as it was years ago. It's just your magazines are now your phones.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, you're right about that. When you get to sit down and actually like listen to music as a fan, are you somebody that can actually go on and try to do, you know, you mentioned you don't really listen to a lot of new bands. When you're going to just listen for your own leisure, are you somebody that just kind of goes to your old staples?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, there's a handful of new bands that I do like. You know, it's really hard to keep up with stuff when your life is, you know, I got a guitar business, I'm in there working and all that stuff. But there are new artists that are, you know, bands that are great out there. You know, we were on the Kiss cruise and this band from England called the Wild Things, you know, that they played 3 chords and I knew I was going to love them. And I'm like a humongous fan of them now, you know. They're phenomenal to me. You know, and there's, you know, like Tuck Smith and the Restless Hearts from the singer from the Biters.
Love him.
Love his stuff. Yeah, you know, so there's a lot of news, but it's all, you know, it's all rock and pop related music, you know, songwritings that I'm attracted to. That's just what I like.
Do you have confidence that as an old rock and roll soldier yourself, do you have confidence that that new rock stars and you know, those iconic figures, you know, your Ozzy Osbournes, your Lemmys, you know, I mean, those kind of people, you know, will this generation, will somebody step forward and fill those kind of shoes? Will we have those same type of rock icons, or has that chapter of music kind of fizzled out, in your opinion?
Yeah, I don't think we're done yet. I think there's a lot of bands that are still, you know, like bands like BUCKCHERRY and Skid Row and you know, I don't know. I know there's more out there, but a lot of them are just still, you know, you got your Motley Crues and Def Leppards that are ahead of bands like what I just mentioned. So so there is room for these other bands to become those those leaders, and then, you know, we can only hope that the torch will be passed down to others.
So we just got new music in 2023 from BUCKCHERRY. So what is the plan going forward? A lot of touring over the summer.
Yeah, there's a good amount of touring. We just did the first leg with Skid Row.
Yep.
That we just did. So there's another one coming up, and there's some festivals. So it's really just you know, log into buckcherry.com and follow the tour dates, and
I myself
things will be added as we move along.
I myself, this upcoming Saturday, am going to see Skid Row myself here in my upstate New York area, and I'm wondering your assessment, because I hear very great things about their current lead singer.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, yeah,
amazing. He's fantastic.
Yeah, it's very rare sometimes, you know, when a voice is so identifiable in a band. I feel like sometimes, you know, that can be a dicey area when a singer exits and a new singer comes in. It can either work or be a complete disaster.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's because of, you know, a band that has a history and they're loved and they sold a lot of records. It's, you know, it's some people are emotionally attached. Most are emotionally attached to that.
Yeah.
So it's hard for them to step away from what grew with them. Most people were kids when they got into music, and so this was part of their life, you know.
Yeah.
So some people, but you know, I'm always open to you know, just to be open to that stuff, you know. I mean, I was a huge, still am, big AC/DC fan. I remember when Bon Scott died. It was heartbreaking. I was, whatever, 1980, so I was, you know, I was a kid.
Yeah.
But Brian Johnson came along, and you know, he changed the whole game.
Yeah. Yeah, he really did.
You know, and not that, you know, I lean more Bon Scott because that's what I was introduced to, but I'm just as big of a Brian Johnson fan. So, you know,
obviously you mentioned
to be open to support the bands they love, no matter what.
Obviously, you mentioned we can get all of our BUCKCHERRY information at buckcherry.com. But if somebody wanted a Billy Rowe guitar, how do they go about doing something like that, or having a guitar built by you?
Yeah, well, my company's called ROCK N ROLL RELICS. It's a brand, so we have, like, you know, 5 models. You can go to the website rockandrollrelics.com. And it's all pretty much spelled out for you in photos and information on, you know, stores that sell them around the world. Custom orders, you can order a custom guitar, you know, custom built to within our spec range.
Yeah.
You know,
you BUCKCHERRY guys are just so gracious coming on and doing these. Oh, I've had Kelly on here before too, and he's quite the character too. Loves to talk.
Oh, you think?
He's a chatter. Yeah, he's a
really?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
You must have got him on a day he was into talking. Holy moly, I'm blown away.
Oh, so you're being sarcastic. That is the norm for Kelly then.
Yes, I am.
Yes. Yeah. I figured.
Yeah. I've known him the longest in the band. I've known him since 1988, so I'm allowed to say whatever I want on him.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Listen, Billy, man, it's been great chopping it up.
I've done my time.
Yeah. It's been awesome chatting with you for a little while, buddy. I really appreciate you coming on here and doing this, man. And best of luck with the touring. And you know, I wish you guys safe travels out there, man. And hopefully we can keep in touch and we can do it again sometime. Yeah,
we'll be out on the East Coast, I know.
Okay.
Point here, so.
Sounds good. I'll be looking for you guys.
September, September, Skid Row.
Okay. Sounds good. I appreciate it, Billy. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
All right. Cool.
All right. Take it easy, brother. Later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Now we get to sit here and watch him try to figure out how to hang up. And there he goes, folks. That is Billy Rowe. He is the guitar player for a little rock band called BUCKCHERRY. You know them. You love them. You better damn well respect them because they are at the forefront of American rock and roll bands right now. One of the best. Been doing it for a long time. Go check out. They just put out an album in 2023. I believe it's called Volume 10. It is a fucking force. A lot of rippers on there, a lot of bangers, so to speak. And, you know, it's Buckcherry, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? They're going to deliver. They have Josh Todd, one of the preeminent frontmen in rock and roll right now. They've got Billy Rowe, formerly of JETBOY, another legendary 80s rock band from around that time period. And they are just a great band. So do yourself a favor. If you don't already know, slap yourself a couple times in the face and say, what the fuck have I been missing out on? And then go check out some Buckcherry. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I want to thank Billy Rowe for coming on here. And I want to remind you guys out there, until we meet again, to take it easy and keep it sleazy.